Hi, Tony. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Are you over at your friend's place again?
No, I'm at today.
So that was a little bit choppy.
Sorry, 1 second.
Okay. Hi, Tony. I can sort of hear you, but it looks like you're on mute again.
Sorry, I was just switching from my phone to my laptop, but my camera isn't working on my laptop, but I think I can live without that. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely do the webinar without your camera working. It's more important that you can see my laptop.
Yep.
So when I share the screen. Okay. Okay, so Tony, let me know when you want to start. because
Sure.
it is actually just a one-on-one right now.
Totally.
There were 3 other people who were supposed to be on the call, and they had asked me to just email them the link afterwards.
All right.
So, which is great for you because it means that you can ask me all your questions.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is share my screen with you.
Okay.
And let me just make this bigger. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. How come it's not sharing? Okay, there we go. So I'm going to share this screen present to everyone. Okay. I'm going to close that down because it always does this tunnel thing, which is so weird.
No problem.
Okay. So Tony, so my plan is just to walk you through the entire foreclosure and auction process. And at any point, feel free to stop me and ask me a question, because I want to make sure that by the end of this session that we have, that you are confident in going out and doing foreclosure and auctions on your own. Okay.
Okay.
So now keep in mind that this stuff that we're going to talk about today is only for Ontario. Okay, so once you get into foreclosures and auctions in other provinces or in the US, the rules are completely different. Okay, so keep in mind that this is only for Ontario. Now, I did send you that Municipality Act. Did you get a chance to go through that? Tony, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So I was asking if you had a chance to look over that municipal act that I sent you. Okay. Did you have any questions about that document?
Actually, yeah. The one question would be, I guess, I know for the auction one, at the moment you become the winning, I guess, the highest bid for the auction or whatnot, you have to pay on the spot. I mean, it's you would have to pay money ready. Are you able to get a loan on things like that, or no, not really? You have to have.
Okay, so let's do this. I will bring up an example of a property that was up for auction today. Okay, and we will go through the listing here. So let me see if I can find the. Here we go, for less. So this property is 86 Dana. So this one was actually up for auction today in Vaughan. Okay, and so if you are the successful bidder, it says down here that you would have to put down a 10% bid price or $1,000, whichever is greater. Okay, so let's say your bid price was $100,000. So then you would need 10% right on the spot. So then you would need $10,000, okay? And then you would have, how many days here? And then down here, it does say how many days you have to get the rest of that money to make up $100,000. So then you would have to put down an extra $90,000. Here, 10 days. So you have 10 days from the day of the sale. So from today's point, you have 10 days to get the $90,000. Okay, now keep in mind in this particular location, there were existing mortgages and liens on the property. So one of the things here on this document, if you read it on the second part, it says the purchaser to assume responsibility for all mortgages, charges, liens, outstanding taxes, and other encumbrances, right? So this is one of the big risks that we need to talk about when you're doing an auction, is that you would be assuming anything that's on the title. So in this particular property, I'm going to show you what the title looks like, okay? Because I'm assuming that you've never seen a title document before.
Nope.
Okay, so this document here is what I would submit to a company to pull the title. So the company that I use is called Central Legal Works. Okay, and I think I sent you a blank copy of this one yesterday, right?
Essentially, I gotta check.
Okay, yeah, see, because I want to make sure that like when we hang up the phone today, I want you to be able to find your own properties and actually get all the information that you need to be able to make a knowledgeable bid. Okay, so the last thing I want you to do is not understand the risk or know how to find the information to assess the risk. Okay, so the form that I sent you yesterday is a clean version of this. Okay, so this is an example of the title search that I would have done on this property. See, so it's got my contact information there. Okay, the information about the current owner on that property, the address, and the plan information. Okay, and this is from that document. So you see over, did I close it? Sorry, I must have closed that one. This one here. Okay, so when you look at this property listing, it has all the information that you need on there to fill out that title search. Okay, so you see this number here. Sorry, my mouse doesn't highlight here, but you see this section here. Okay, that's the plan information. Okay, so you see the address here, and here's the name of the current owners here. This Michael Corral and this Natalie person. So you would take this information that's from this listing and put it on that title. Oh, it is up there. Okay, and you would put it right on here. Okay, then you would fill out your information here to pay for it online, and then you would just email it to this company. Okay, and then they would actually be able to tell you within, like on the emails that I send to them, I'll say, okay, I need to know this, you know, by the end of the day, or I need to know this first thing in the morning, and they'll do whatever they can to provide you that information. And normally the cost of pulling a title search is about, you know, $60 to $75. Okay, so that's the form that I submitted to them to pull it. And this is the information that I got back from them. So is it this one? Yeah, okay. So this is a title document. Okay, so all of the titles that you pull will look like this. It'll have the Service Ontario logo on the top. It'll have a description of that property, which you got from down here, right? It should be the same, sorry. See this number here? It should be the same information that you would pull from here. Okay. It would have the name of the current owners on there. And then it would tell you what mortgages and liens, encumbrances, all that stuff. It would be on this document here. Okay. So this particular property, you can see that in 2009, it was transferred for $537,000 from this individual or this couple to the new owners. So that means that the new owners bought the place for about $537,000. They got a mortgage from CIBC in 2009, so pretty much like the day of or the day after they purchased the place. They got a mortgage for $429,000, right? Because you can see that it belongs to these individuals, and it was from the CIBC company. Now here comes the interesting part. So because this is an auction, and in the auction listing, it says that you would assume all the mortgages. So you would assume this $429,000, assuming that they have not paid anything towards that. But you would also incur all of these liens that go with that property. So as you can see, there's the 65,000, the 17, the 17, 27, and 42,000, right? So almost $150,000 that was on top of this, right? So, you know, this one here, because it's an auction, you do need to make sure that you pull the title search on this property to find out exactly how much mortgages and liens are outstanding on the property. And your bid price then would be on top of the mortgage and liens that are on there. So in this particular case, there was, you know, so this 430 plus this extra 150,000. So let's say $600,000 in total, right? So when you're at the auction, you would actually bid, So when you're there at the auction, because there's already about $600,000 in mortgages and liens, your bid price would be above that 600,000. So let's say you put in a bid price of 100,000, you will in 10 days, 10 business days, need to be able to pay that 600,000 plus that $100,000 bid that you put down. Does that make sense, Tony?
Sorry, I was juggling around with electronics. Could you explain what was that? You said 600,000 plus the. Can you just go over the numbers real quick again? Where was the 600,000?
Okay. Yeah. See, so this couple got a mortgage from CIBC for $430,000. Right? So you, as the bidder, would be responsible for this $430,000. Okay. Plus, you would also be responsible for any liens and additional charges that are on the title. So which are these additional numbers here? Okay, you following?
Okay, got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this here is about roughly about $150,000. So you add that onto this 430, and you're close to almost 600,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So if you were there at the auction today and you put in a bid of 100,000, then in 10 days you would have to be able to pay $700,000 for this property.
Okay, got it.
Got it. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so in terms of this disclaimer, you've seen this disclaimer before. So basically, it's just to say any information that we talk about today, you should talk about it with some other people, verify the information. Don't just take what I say, you know, as the Bible, because you know there's room for interpretation with some of the stuff, but also keep in mind it's for general advice. Okay, and of course, I'm more than happy to talk to you about them, you know, even after the call. So feel free to email me or call me if you do have another question that comes up that we don't talk about tonight. Okay. So my goal for you at the end of this presentation is to take all the information that we talk about and be able to confidently bid on a foreclosure and or auction. Okay. We're going to go into a lot of detail about what is a foreclosure, what is an auction. We're talking about the act, the one that I sent you by email. So if you have more questions about the act, we'll bring it up there again, and we'll go into more details about it. And then the title search, which we touched about a little bit. Okay, we can go through the step by step on that. And also I've put together a slide on the step-by-step activities that you would do for a foreclosure and an auction. And then also some tips on how to make an auction work for you. Okay, so let's go through all the slides, and then at the end, if you've got some questions, we can definitely go through the information again if we need to. And at any point, just stop me and we can definitely answer any questions that you have all the way through. Okay, so a foreclosure is different from an auction. Okay, a foreclosure is where you get one bid and it is a silent bid. So there would be a package that you would get, and this package is called a tender package. You would get that package, you would fill it out, put your bid amount in that package along with the check. And the check would either be 10% or 20% depending on the listing. So we'll go through a couple of examples of a foreclosure property. And then you would send that in to the municipality or drop that off to the municipality. The problem or the risk associated with a foreclosure, and it's the same for an auction, is that it's sight unseen, meaning that you cannot phone the owners to make an appointment to see the place. Okay, so you can drive by the house, you can, you know, walk up to the door, peek through the windows, talk to the neighbors, but really you cannot do a home inspection. There's no going into the home. It's not really, it's frowned upon if you knock on the door to say, hey, you know what, your place is up for foreclosure, can I come in, right? So it's a known fact that you're not supposed to be bothering the people. So one of the things that I always suggest is that if you are within driving range to the property, go and take a look at it in person, drive by, talk to the neighbors. The thing that I find most useful is just calling the office that is doing the tax sale, who's doing the foreclosure. You can ask them any question under the sun. If they're not able to answer it, they'll tell you that they can't answer it. A lot of times they'll just sort of laugh it off and be like, oh, well, you know what, I don't know the answer, or I can't tell you that. And so keep in mind that the people who work at the tax office, they should know the act inside out, but sometimes they don't. And so they'll refer you to somebody else. And if you ask them a question and they don't know the answer, ask them, hey, you know what, is there somebody else I can talk to, right? Always make sure you ask them about the zoning. Make sure you know what type of zoning, what type of building can go in there, what type of living, zone can exist there. Okay, and then also do the title search like we talked about. So with foreclosure and auction, the next section is the same. So be prepared, like have a lawyer lined up, make sure you review all the legals, make sure you know exactly what you're getting into with foreclosure and auctions. Be prepared that you might have to hire a sheriff to evict the person that's living in that property. There's no guarantees that you're going to win this property and it's going to be vacant when you get it. Okay. Also be prepared that with foreclosure and auctions, that the place could be damaged, severely damaged, or have structural issues, have mold, holes in the wall, anything like that. Okay. The auction place that I showed you about 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, that property, let's say, went up for auction today, but if that owner was still living there, and last night, for whatever reason, if he got in his head that, hey, you know what, I'm going to turn on the taps and run it for 6 hours and completely flood the basement, you're inheriting that damage. Okay. So the same thing could happen in a foreclosure. They could have turned on the taps last night and ran it, and flooded the entire basement. Okay. The thing as well with foreclosure and auctions is that they can cancel the sale up until the time of them opening the tender package or of them holding the auction. So you could go and do all this work, go get the check, mail them the tender package, and even up until the moment that they're supposed to open the tender package, they could still cancel it. So doing foreclosures and auctions are very time consuming. And with foreclosures, you are competing with full-time flippers and buyers, like people who are in this full-time hardcore flippers and buyers, right? So then I also listed there the Municipality Act, which I sent to you. And so then the last comment there is that your bid price is your final price. Okay. The only exception is when there's a crown lien on the property. So what will happen is those liens on that auction document that I showed you, where there was like 5 or 6 liens, those ones there, because it's an auction, you would inherit those liens. But for a foreclosure, normally you would not have to pay those liens. The only exception is if it's a crown lien, meaning that it's something to do with the government. Okay, so even for a foreclosure, even if you don't have to assume the mortgage or assume what's on the title, there is that one exception where if it's a crown lien, you do have to pay that portion as well in addition to your final price. And so that's why even for a foreclosure, it's very, very important that you pull the title search. Okay, so here's a couple of examples here of the websites. So we're going to go to each of these websites. So rather than us going through them now and going through the examples, let's talk about let's talk about what the auctions are. Okay, and then we'll go to those websites. Okay, so with an auction, this is different from the foreclosure. With this one, you would physically go to the courthouse or wherever they're holding the auction, and you would participate in a bidding process. And you would be able to see who else is bidding, and you would be able to increase your amount of your bid if you wanted to. Okay, so with this one, it's the same thing. You would have to find the property. You're not able to go inside the property to do a home inspection. You're not supposed to bother the people who are still living there. And as well, you don't know what the conditions of the house are. Okay, and you might have to hire a sheriff to evict the people as well. Okay, so the due diligence on this is the same as for foreclosure, and the preparation time is exactly the same thing in terms of, you know, having a lawyer, them being able to cancel the auction up until the moment that the auction would open the doors. Okay, so for example, at an auction, like, so for example, the one today that took place, let's say if you were to go to the auction, you would get there maybe 30 minutes beforehand, register with the courthouse because it's done at the sheriff's office. You would have to provide ID, and if you are going to be bidding, you need to have that check ready. So in this case, it was a 10% check minimum, or $1,000 ready, and it has to be a certified check made out to that municipality. Okay, and then on the start time, like they literally start right on time unless there's a bunch of people registering and then the sheriff hasn't, you know, finished registering everybody. So the auction today had 6 bidders, and each of those people would have one of those tags that you could hold up with your number. And there was about 14 other people that were just in the room watching. Okay, and so you are allowed to go to these auctions and watch, and you know there's really no questions being asked about that. And normally at the beginning, the sheriff or the person who's doing the auction, the auctioneer, would read out the entire auction document, and then they would maybe open it up for questions, but normally they don't do that. And if there's any questions, the sheriff would answer it, or they would also have a lawyer on hand to answer any questions. And then they would start the bid, and they might start it at 100,000, they might start at 50,000. It really depends. And then they just move up the amount. And as long as there's an individual bidding, they'll keep moving up that bid amount. So in today's auction, they started at 50,000. Then they jumped right to 100. So there was already, you know, there was individuals who were bidding and taking those 100,000s, and then it went to 150, 175, 200, 225. It went all the way up to 345. And so that property sold at $345,000. So the new owners, the person who got the bid, would be responsible for paying $345,000 in the next their deposit today, and then the balance of $345,000 over the next 10 days, plus the mortgage and the liens would also be due in the next 10 days. Okay, so I've also listed here that we'll go through some examples, and we'll go through the website because I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to find the foreclosure and auction places. Okay. So here are the step-by-step, and so let's go through these, and then we'll actually go and do them together. Okay, so the first place to go to is this Ontario Gazette website. It's a free website that you go to. You don't have to pay for it. You go to that website, and you will be able to get a document that will list all the foreclosure and auctions. And this document comes out every 2 weeks. So if you are going to get serious about bidding on foreclosures and auctions, then you're going to want to look at the site every 2 weeks and look at the listings and determine which of those listings you want to bid on and narrow down what you want. So it's good to sort of come up with a list of what your priorities are that you're going to be looking for. Let's say you want to be within 4 hours of Southern Ontario, or you're only looking for vacant land, right? Or you only want to do foreclosures. So it's good to set those priorities, so that way you can narrow down your search, because otherwise you're going to spend lots of hours chasing these listings that you might not really be interested in. Okay. The third step is to look at the maps, look at the listing, make sure you read the dates on it, check out the town's website. There's a lot of information on the town website about the foreclosure or the auction, and you'll be able to maybe get some information off the site, like the tender package as well. And in some cases, we might have to go to this special website that is hired by the municipalities to help them with all of the foreclosure and auction. So we'll go to that site as well. The fourth step is to pull the title search and the instruments, And the instruments, well, I'll show you a couple of examples of the instruments of what that looks like. And basically, you know, the title search and the instruments tell you what mortgages and liens and other things are owing on that property. Okay. Then we'll also talk about pulling a present value report and the info pack. And the info pack is the tender package that you would need, along with some information like how much the annual taxes are, what the current assessment is, zoning information, so forth like that. Okay. The fifth step is to figure out if you want to bid and how much is your maximum bid going to be. And I always suggest that you come up with this number before you go into an auction, because it can get very exciting at an auction to just keep bidding, because you become emotionally attached to the property and you want to win. Okay, so once you have the maximum bid in mind for your foreclosure and auction, it's good to stick to it, because there was a reason that you came up with that number. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about how to come up with that max number as well. So the sixth step is to figure out how you're going to get the money and to have a strategy on getting that money. And this refers to having to pay off that entire amount that you're bidding, plus whatever mortgages or liens that you're assuming within your 10 or 15 days. Okay, so you do want to make sure that you have a strategy on how to get that funding, so that you're not winning a bid and then saying, holy crap, okay, well now I've got this property, but now I need to come up with X amount of money. How am I going to get that? Because you don't really have that luxury after you win to figure that part out. So it's good to go in there knowing ahead of time how you're going to get that money. Okay. The seventh one is to call the office and ask a ton of questions. So that's the office who has listed the foreclosure or is holding the auction. You can call them pretty much from the day up that you find the listing, and you can call them every day if you want to, up until even the morning of, to even ask them questions. Okay, so like there was a foreclosure property that I put a bid on, and it was due today. And of course, it was 2 hours outside of Toronto, so I didn't bother going there because I was going to the bond auction. So I had sent the package last night, and I tracked the package. And as soon as I knew that they received the package, I phoned the office to say, hey, I sent a package. Did you guys get it? Right? And of course, the woman was really nice, and she said, oh yeah, I saw your name. We got the package. Right? So even up until the point of them opening the package, you can still phone them and ask them questions. And you'll find that the staff who works at the tax sales are really, really nice. Like they're super, super patient, as well as being really nice. And then after you do call the office and ask questions, at that point, if you are still interested in that property, do a drive-by, talk to the neighbors, do as much due diligence as you can. Okay, and then the next step is to get your deposit, and make sure you send that deposit along. Sorry, so at this point here, this is where it gets different for a foreclosure and for an auction. So once you get your deposit, if you're doing a foreclosure, you're going to want to get, review, and fill out the tender package. Okay, and the tender package, I'll show you a couple of tender packages. Send in your tender package with your deposit, and make sure you send it before the deadline date. Okay, if you send it and they receive it after the deadline, then you've just wasted your entire time, because your tender package is not going to be valid. Okay, and then if you win, you want to get the financing done on it. For an auction, once you get your deposit, you want to call the office before you go. And the reason for that is that you don't want to drive all the way there and then the auction's been canceled. Okay, because even up until the moment of the auction, they could still cancel it. Okay, or postpone it. When you go to the auction, so then you would go there with your deposit. Make sure you have ID, because you do have to register in with the sheriff. Then you participate in the bid, and this could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. I've never been at a bid longer than 20 minutes. Like literally, they are very, very fast. Okay, and then if you win, then you want to make sure that you get your financing done. Okay, so let's go through a couple of examples here. Okay, so Tony, are you okay so far with everything presented?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my computer on shared screen. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Google here. Okay. So now I'm going to physically go through all the steps with you. Okay. Oh, Tony, just hold on a sec. I think the office is trying to see if they can do a cleaning in here for me. Hold on.
No, I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay, thanks. Okay, bye. All right, Tony. So, okay, so Google. So you want to go onto Ontario Gazette. Okay, Ontario search. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to send you this link as well, so you will have it. And here. Okay, I'm sending it to you by Google Hangout here. So you have that site. Okay, and just let me know if there's any sort of things that you want me to slow down on or whatever, okay? Because I'm just gonna, so what I'm gonna do now for the next few minutes is pretend that I'm actually doing this, which I will because I haven't looked at this new issue which came out last week, okay? So what I would do is I would open up this document. I would actually download the entire document because what I want to do is I want to be able to refer back to it and go back to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save it to my computer. Okay. And you'll see that I have a listing here. And what I do is I actually keep the number intact. Okay. So this is the Ontario Gazette. It's a free document that you can get every 2 weeks. And you can see, let's see, did they, oh, okay. So I'm just going to go back here so you can see. Okay. Okay, so you can see right now there's 894 issues found, right? You really, like, now that you're just starting into it, you just want to look at the most recent issues because these foreclosures and auctions are only valid for a couple of months at the most, maybe a month. So really by the time, like if you've missed a couple, it doesn't make sense to go back because the time frame of bidding on them have already passed. Okay, so what you want to do now that you have the document, sometimes I find that if I do a search, it doesn't really work. Okay, here it's working now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick word search and type in foreclosure, and you can see that there's nothing there. So I'm just going to type in sale, because that always seems to work a little bit better. So there's 25. Okay, so this is, oh, here we go. So this is a huge document, 68 pages long. And so there's stuff listed in here about companies who have gone into bankruptcy, new companies who are started, people getting married, divorces, all of that stuff is listed in this document. It's like amazing, the information that's out there. So this section here starts on page 45 of 68. Okay, the sale of land transfer, sorry, sale of land for tax arrears. Okay, so basically what this is these are the foreclosure ones. Okay, so they don't call it foreclosure, they call it tax arrears or a sale of land. So when you phone the municipality, you're going to want to say the sale of land or for tax arrears. If you say foreclosure, some of the people might not understand that. Okay, so here you can see that there's a sale of land for public tender. So what that means is that you would send them a tender package. So it's a one bid, your maximum bid. Okay, so what I would do is I would actually look at these, and this one is in the Corporation of the Valley of Oil Springs. Okay, I have no idea where this is. So what I would do is I would actually go onto Google again. Okay, so here's Google here. And what I would do is I would actually just copy this address. So you can actually see they're saying that they're gonna take tenders up until 3 p.m. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that if you go there in person, you want to get there before 3 o'clock, or that if you mail it, you want to get there before 3 o'clock, okay? And you can see this one is due by March the 9th. So it's in 3 weeks time or 2 weeks time. So yeah, 3 weeks time. So it's not like you have a lot of time to chase these, okay? So now this is in Oil Springs, wherever Oil Springs is, Ontario. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that and dump that into here, go Oil Springs, Ontario. And what I'm going to do is I just want to see where it is. Okay, and I'll just zoom out and you could see like it's west of Hamilton, like way over here. Oh, and this one's close to that Petrola property that we looked at last week, right? So right off the bat, for me, I wouldn't be interested in this one, partly because it's far away. But what I would do is actually take a look at the listing and see if it's a multiplex, because then I would be interested. If it was a multiplex would be 4 units or 5 units, like a bigger, like an apartment building thing. But if it's like vacant land or if it's, you know, a single family house, I would not be interested. Okay, so Tony, do you want to look at this one in more detail, or should we keep going and maybe find something of more interest to the both of us?
We'll look for one that you would pick.
Okay. Okay, now keep in mind, like my criteria might be different from yours, right? Like if you, so let's say you were okay with this one, because you see, for some people, buying it so close to Sarnia would be okay, right? Like if you lived in Sarnia and you knew this area quite well, you might be okay with buying something out in Oil Springs. Okay, so just keep that in mind. For myself, I wouldn't be all too interested in going out there, partly because, see, like the tender amount is 4,000, right? And they're not giving an address, so I'm assuming that this is vacant land, right? So I'm buying a piece of land for $4,000 in the middle of nowhere, right? So for me, I'm not interested in that. Okay, so then what I would do then is I would go to the next listing that they have, and I would just, so you could see in Oil Springs, they've got a bunch of listings here, right? So it's all over here on this left side. So it looks like there's 4 properties that are for foreclosure there. And you see here, they have the person that you would contact at that office. So let's say you had a bunch of questions about Oil Springs or those particular properties, you would just contact this Karen Cook person. Okay, now here I see something in Blue Mountain. Okay, this I would be interested in, partly because Blue Mountain is, you know, a nice touristy area. So here, let's look at this one here. This one says it's a lot 3 Collingwood. Okay, so lot 18, concession 3 Collingwood, as in there, the Blue Mountains. But you see there's no address number, right? And it's for $38,000. So most likely it's a piece of vacant land, or it's a property that has like that's been abandoned. Okay, but here you can see there's another place here that has an address for $37,000. So let's look at this one. So this one's in Blue Mountain, in 152 Scandia Lane. Okay, so let's go there. Search that. Okay, so here's Scandia Lane in Ravenna. I think that's how you pronounce it. Okay. And then what I would do is I would actually look at the earth setting here. Okay, so here it is here. Here's the Blue Mountain Ski Resort. Okay, now, Tony, are you familiar with the Blue Mountain area at all?
Been there once or twice, but not too familiar.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not familiar with Blue Mountain in the sense of like the locations and stuff. I've gone up there a couple times for hiking. I haven't actually gone up there actually to do skiing. So now what I would do here is pull this map, and I would actually take a screenshot of it. Okay, so as part of my research here, you'll see what I'm going to do here. And just to let you know, Tony, this is the first time I'm doing this step-by-step instruction with anybody. So you and the other 3 students that I have are actually going to learn this entire process that took me about 4 years to learn on my own. Because believe it or not, when I started, there was nobody out there offering to teach this information and to provide it by, like, to take me by the hand and say, this is the step-by-step thing you need to do to make sure that you're not going to screw yourself over when you go to bid, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, so I would insert that picture there, and then I would go back to the Google map, and I would actually just zoom out and try to get a better idea of where things are, right? So here's, okay, so let me just show you this here. So you see, when we were inside here, it said that this was the Blue Mountain Resort here. Okay, but then when we zoom out, you can see that the actual resort is over here on this side, right? And so that would actually be a bit of a concern for me, because people who come to Blue Mountain, they want to be by the resort, right? And so here, this is a little bit ways away. So my first thought would be, okay, well, if I'm going to buy this and do like an Airbnb or rent it out or something, it won't be as attractive as a place that's right over here. Okay, but keep in mind, look at these. I'm assuming that these are the golf courses here, right? And so it might not actually be that bad of a location to have it on this side here, right? And then people would just have to drive to the resort or, you know, drive to the golf course. Okay, so then I would just do another print screen of this and go over to my Word document and just paste it in. Okay, and then I would actually then zoom right back in, and I would take a look at the property itself and just try to get a better idea of what's, okay, hold on. I'm going to just back out because somehow I clicked on something and it zoomed out. Okay, so here it is here. So 152. So what I would want to do is just go on land and dump my little person there. Ooh. Okay, so this is the property here. So let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Nope. Okay, so this is the property here. Okay, sorry, I'm going to try that again. I'm going to dump my person here and there. So that's the front of the house there. So this is what you would be bidding on here. Oh no, that's 149. Okay, so what we're looking for is 152. Yeah, 152. So this property here, you can see it's 149. So that's not the one of interest here. Okay, so then what we would do is turn this road around and see if we could find 152 on this map. Yeah, see, it's not as, oh, okay, let's go over here. Okay, so 149 there, so maybe it's over this one here. Let's see what number this one is. 145, okay. So, okay, so it is this vacant piece of land here. Okay, so it's not these properties here, it's on this side here. So you following how I got that?
Yep.
Okay. So now what you would do is you would figure out if you wanted to, you know, buy a piece of vacant land in Blue Mountain with a bunch of trees on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another snapshot of this, paste it on my Word document. Oh, where did it go? Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to actually go back because I want to see what number this property is here. Okay. Yeah, see, so this property over here is number, do you see a number anywhere? Oh, maybe over there, I'll have to turn around somehow.
I think it was 126.
126, see, so, and it looks like they're just building on that side. Yeah, 126 there. I'm gonna just zoom out. So 126 there. Yeah, trees and trees and more trees, yeah. So it's this piece of vacant land here, right? So I'm just gonna copy that over. Okay, so with this, if you were interested in vacant land, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this document and I'm gonna save it under where I actually do my investing here. Okay, so I have a folder here that I put all of my Ontario Gazette stuff. Okay, oh. Okay, 152. Remember the name of the street? No. Okay, we'll leave it at 152.
Scandia Lane.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Maybe I have it saved on my Google. No, don't have it. Scanned. Okay. So I'm going to just call this Google. Okay, so then I'll start a new folder and I'll just call it Google Map. Okay, so that way I have that in my records that I've looked at the property and try to figure out where the map is on it. Okay, so then keep in mind, like, it's got an address, but what's going to happen is that if you're interested in buying this, you'd have to put in a bid price of $37,516.85 or higher. But you could buy this land, tear down some trees, and then build on there, which would actually be really great, right? So one of the things that I would do is pull the title on this one. Okay, so now I'm going to show you Oh, there you are. Okay, awesome.
Sorry about that.
Okay, invitation posted. Okay, no, I had to completely shut off my computer as well. So I'm not sure if the, oh, am I on Hangout here too? Okay, hold on, let me close that one and see. And let me just make sure that the other thing is working. Okay, good stuff. That seems to be running, so I don't think we're actually recording any more live. So let me do this. I think I'm gonna have to combine the two documents here. So let me see. Okay. All right, fantastic. So I'm gonna share my screen again with you. And hopefully we don't have any more technical difficulties. Okay, so stop. Okay, good stuff. All right, so where we left off was on, I was going to show you how to do, how I would go about getting some information on the present value of a property. Okay, so if you are going to be getting into foreclosures and auctions, I would suggest that you team up with a mortgage broker or a real estate agent who can pull this information for you. Okay, because what you want to be able to do is get this information fairly quickly. And the last thing you want to do is have to, you know, because it can get quite expensive to have to constantly pay for all of these reviews and stuff. So here we're going to check out that Blue Mountain one, 152 Scadia Lane. Let's see if we can find this place here. This is in Blue Mountain Gray. Oh. Let's see if that comes up. Okay, see, so it's not in there. So now we're going to try this other location. No, that's not it either. So sometimes it's hard to find out exactly what area it's in. Let's see, we're in a Blue Mountain.
I feel like worst case scenario, the property directly under it might be a little better just because it has a house on Google Maps already.
The house, what do you mean? That the house on the listing, you mean? These ones down there?
Yeah, the property just under Scandia, yeah, on King Street. That
King
one
Street, that was that not the one we looked at the other day?
might be. I'm not sure.
King West, okay, because that number sounds familiar, so let me just bring that up. Sorry, my computer. So when I shut everything off, I had to turn everything off. So let me go here live, yeah. 25, oh, so that one's 28, right next door. There we go. So let me just make sure it's 25 here, or 28 here. 28 King Blue Mountain, yeah. Oh no, it's 28. Yeah, so this was the one that we looked at last week already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 28. So you know what, let me just go in here and make that change quickly then. I don't know why I even had 25 on there. Okay, so this PVA report here that I pulled last week to show you on it. So this is 25, but I thought I pulled out 28 though too for you guys. Oh, that's a sneak peek. Oh, you know why? Because I dumped it in here. No. Okay. Did I not pull up a new one for us that night? Thought I did.
I can't remember.
Okay. Okay.
And what does a PVA stand for?
Okay, so let me go into that site here. Oh, not right here. So as a mortgage agent, I have access to this site, and PVA just stands for Present Value Analyzer. Okay. The company that provides the service to us is Purview, and so Dominion Lending pays a lot of money for this service, right? So let's go into Blue Mountain here, and we'll see Blue Mountain Gray, maybe. We're typing 28. King Street West, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I know, I pulled it already. Okay, so this is the report that I would pull out. And so this is what it looks like. It talks about the size of the property. It tells you who owns the place right now, okay? And originally they got it for $2. So either, yeah, that number totally doesn't make any sense, right? So either they got it as a land or maybe it was a gift to them from somebody else, okay? Yeah, so it looks like it was a gift, right? Because it was transferred back there, and it was, you know, 129,000 that was transferred over in 2004, and then in 2013 they got it for $2. So it was probably something that was passed on by the family.
Gotcha.
So here you could see, okay, it's estimated at 222,000. There's no mortgages on it, right? And the property is going in that area for 145 to 200. Sorry, $2.5 million. Okay, so this would potentially be a good property to put a tender on, okay, because it is only being, it's 50,000, let's say. So let's say you wanted to put in a bid for 60,000. So you would send them a check for, let me see here. Here we go. So it says that it's 20% of the tender amount. So if you wanted to make a bid for 60,000, you would have to send them 20%, which is $12,000. Okay. You would then also get the tender package for this property. Okay. So why don't we go through the process of doing that together? Okay. So I'm going to save this as a report. Print this. And so I'll save it as well, just so that I always can go back to it. And I don't know why I didn't save it on that one day. Properties, Carlito 25. Okay, I'm going to go back and save it into where we're doing the presentation, so that way I can find it again. 28. Okay, so then once I have that done, okay, then what I would do is actually try to go and get the tender package on this to read more information on it. So then what I would do is I would actually go onto this site, which is OntarioSalesTax.ca. Okay, and this is a site that has made an arrangement with the different municipalities for them to advertise for all of the foreclosures and auctions, but not all of them actually post on here. So that's why I always like to go to the Ontario Gazette, because everything is going to be listed here. Okay. And then the other thing that I don't like about this Ontario tax sales is that this is a paid service, so that you actually do have to pay if you want certain information. Some of it is free, but the majority of the stuff you have to pay for it. And the thing that I don't like about this site as well is that if you can request a title search from these guys, and they are not very responsive, whereas the other company that I use are super responsive to getting you that information. So here at the Ontario Tax Sales, okay, I'm going to send you this link as well. You have it. Okay, there you go. So that's done on Google Hangout for you. So then what I would do is I would try to find the listing for that Blue Mountain place. So I would go here, and you see how they have the towns, and you could, this one here is the free side, and this is the paid side. Okay, so so here's that Oil Springs one that we looked at earlier. Okay, so I'm a paid member, and I normally pay for the year just because it's a little bit cheaper. So here is the Blue Mountain one. Okay, and so here it says you can get the info pack from here, so that's what we'll do as well. We'll get this. So this one here, there's 3 properties for sale in Blue Mountain. The first one is this vacant land here. Okay, then there's this one. Oh, there is a house on there. Look at that. For 37,000. Okay, so you know what? Let's pull that one too then, because since there's a house there. So now keep in mind, just because there's a house here, that house could have burnt down for whatever reason, right? But you could see it's way in the back as well. So that's probably why we didn't see it, and the trees have outgrown it. So you can see it says here that the photos were taken back in the spring of 2010. The boundaries may not line up with actual, and it may not be a current representation of the structures as shown in the images. Okay, so let's do the King Street one, and then we'll go back to that one as well. Okay, so let's do this. This one is from 2010 as well, and it says the same thing. So then what I would do is I would click here for more information. Okay. And you could see there's it there in the map. Okay, now here's the annual taxes and the assessment value. So now it says available on info in the info pack. So I'm going to order that one because I actually have access to that. So I'm going to just do that. Let's see how to, okay, so add this item. So there's the cost, and it's free for me as far as I know. Click here to become a gold member. Am I not logged in? Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm going to log in. Okay. Okay. So now, Tony, if you're interested in bidding on this, let me know and I will send you this package. Okay, because otherwise you're going to have to pay for it on your own. Okay, so available in the info pack. So I'm going to go here. So now you see how that changed to $0 because I'm a gold member. Okay, so I'm going to check out. And here. Okay, so I'm going to create order. Okay, and so I will get an email saying that listing. Okay, and they sent that to me. So I'm going to go into my Gmail. Okay, so here it is here. So this now is that info pack. Okay, so I'm going to open it up and it's downloaded down here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go here. Okay, Blue Mountain info pack. Okay, so this one is 22 pages. So I'm going to go ahead and save this on that section there. Print it. TVA. Okay. Tender package. Okay. So this is what a tender package would look like for any foreclosure property or auction that you would be interested in getting information on. So at the front page, it says, you know, are you familiar with how an auction works? Questions that you might have, then go to this website to get more information. Okay. Then on the second page, they have instructions for submitting a tender. And this is the same information that would be on that municipal act that I sent you. Okay. So it says, you know, determine your tender amount, prepare the tender package, which is your Form 7. Okay. So we'll look at that in more detail. As you know, determine your, get your deposit. And in this case, it's 20%. Okay. And you need to have a certified check. You can, or like a bank draft. You cannot do cash or from a credit union. Okay. And then you would have to make it out to the municipality. And if for some reason, if you do not submit the package correctly, the checks amounts incorrect or something like that, you forfeit your bid. Okay. Now, if you are a successful winner and you decide to back out, then you forfeit your deposit. Okay, so keep that in mind. And the municipality could take legal action against you as well. And then step 4 is to prepare the envelope. And then it says here that, okay, if there's multiple properties that you want to bid on, each one has to be on its own form, its own separate check, and its own envelope. Okay, and then submitting it, you could do it in person, by carrier, or by mail, and they'll give you a timeline as well of when you can withdraw, because once they start opening the bids, you cannot withdraw it at all. Okay, let's see. So those are the information. Okay, and then here's a checklist as well. Okay, so now here is an exact copy of what we saw in the Ontario Gazette. Okay, so this listing here is now on here. Okay, and so you can see each one of those are listed there. Okay, and the one that we're interested in is this 28 King Street West one. Okay, so here, okay, so this is your Form 7. Okay, so now here it says the Corporation of the Township of Blue Mountain. So here, if you wanted to, let's say we wanted to buy that King Street one, right? You would go back up here and copy this entire information right here onto your form. So you could either handwrite it in, like, so you could print this out, handwrite it in, or you could do it on a PDF editor if you have one. Okay, then you would put in the amount that you are bidding. So this is the maximum amount of your bid. So this one was listed for 47. So anything above 47, 57, 42 would be your bid. So let's say 60,000, right? You would put 60,000 there. You would write out the word $60,000. Then you would list your certified check amount. So you would have to have 20%. So let's say 20% is the 12,000. So you would write 12,000 there and put $12,000 here. Then it's dated at Toronto, this 16th day of February. Your name, your address, and your phone number and email. Okay, then you would print this out, or if you've already printed it and you're handwriting it, you would send that, put that into an envelope with your certified check. Okay, and on the cover of your envelope, you would have to put this information. So I'm just going to keep going down here until you could see, because they normally give you an envelope package. Right here. So on the last page. So you would put this right on the cover of your envelope, and you would put this somewhere on the bottom of your envelope so that they can timestamp it. Okay, and then you would have to update this section here, right? A short description. So then that way they know what they're opening it for. Okay, so as you can see, there's 3 different pieces of property here, right? Okay, so this is 28 King Street West. Okay, so this is the property here. So the minimum tender amount is 47. So as long as you put something above 47, 57, you're good. But then keep in mind, they are going to be, it will go to the person with the highest bid. Okay, so pretty much you can see that this property is worth about 220 with no mortgages, right? So assuming there's no mortgage, no other liens or anything like that, or no crown liens, you could potentially go up to, 100,000 and still make a good $120,000 on it. Okay, now keep in mind that if you're going to take this and flip it, then you also need to put in some costs for the realtors, your closing costs, because when you go to sell it, there's costs incurred with that. Keep in mind you also need to pay like a realtor tax, your closing, your lawyers, and everything as well when you do this. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that this property might be damaged on the inside, so you might have to do some renovation. So let's say you do $50,000 in renovation. Okay, so you're going to want to factor that into your bid price as well. Okay, so this one here is the annual property tax is $4,000. And the assessed value here is $479,000, and that was just this past year. Okay, they've got some frontage there. Okay, and then you see the zoning here. It's an R2 residential second density. Okay, and this one isn't so much a concern because there's already a property on it, but let's say if it was vacant and this was zoned for like, you know, like a commercial property and no residential, then you can only put on a commercial property. So you want to at least be cognizant of that. And see, there's a house listed on the property. Is there any other structures on the property? Not to the knowledge of the building services, that's fine. And then also keep in mind that about building permits, that if there is an existing permit or construction happening on there, then you might have to reapply for the permit, and you would have to deal with that permit issue as well, okay? So here, okay, so then on the next page, it just has a picture on it with some more information, location, and more location. So you can see there that, I think that one's there. Is that one King Street? Yeah. So it's over here and it's by this portion of water here. Okay, and then here's the zoning information on that property. Okay, and more information about zoning. So as you can see, there's a lot of information about zoning here. Okay, and then this is the map. Okay, so now this is the, so now we're going into that other property, okay, that one that we thought that was vacant. So you could see here, okay, so you know what, let's go and just finish the one on the King Street. Okay, so that's the one on King Street. Okay, now with this one, if I was to go ahead and do this one, I would actually go and pull a title search. Okay, so I would actually go here, pull this, sneak peek, no, go back here, foreclosures. Okay, so I would actually go here and fill this form out and submit this to get a proper title search done, because I want to make sure that there's no crown liens on the property. So for $60, it's just an extra level of due diligence that you're doing, right? And so normally what I do is I pre-fill the form out and I save my credit card information on there, and then the only time when I'm updating it, I'm just adding in a new address. So this company actually has my information on file, but I do have to send them an updated form every single time. Okay. So let's say on that Dana one that we looked at here, they would send you back a title search, right? And let's say that King Street one came back with this lien on it, right? So you can see there's like a $65,000 lien, and it says it's a tax lien with the National Revenue, sorry, the Queen and Rights of Canada as represented by the Minister of National Revenue. So that right off the bat told me it had to do something with the CRA, right? So I did pull the instrument. So what the instrument is the detailed documentation behind this. So this registration number is this number right here. Okay, so this YR179. So let's go there and we can pull that one, 179. So this one here. So this is what an instrument would look like. Okay, so you could see the registration numbers up here, and you could see like it's for that address again, right? And let's see, oh, here's the, let's see, no, that is not the owner's name. Okay, so here's it right here. So it's the CRA. So this person, for some reason, just did not pay their taxes. Okay, and it was a $65,000. So here, so now this information is the instrument statement. So now if you wanted to get more information about what this $65,000 was for, then you would go into and you would actually read this, right? And it just basically says that these guys did not pay their taxes for their CRA. Okay, so now you could see that this has to do with the Crown, right? And so if this was something that was on a foreclosure title search, you would be responsible for the $65,000 as well. Okay, so even though the mortgage is at 0, if this 65,000 was there, you would have to pay for the 65,000. Okay, so now let's say, okay, so now let's go back to here. Okay, so now here you've, yeah, let's see, I'm gonna try and make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, so now let's say you looked at the maps, you pulled your title search in the instruments, and you've got your info pack, your present value report, which we did. So now you're going to want to figure out, okay, do you want to bid on this and how much do you want to bid? Okay, so let's say on this one, there's no other liens on it. It's a clear one. I would actually say going up to maybe 150, 175 would actually still be a very, very good bid. Okay, and then you would figure out how you would get that money and have a strategy so that you could actually close on that. And then I would call the office every day and ask them questions, you know, and you know, you can even hand offishly say, oh, you know what, like, are you getting a lot of interest on this? And they'll actually say, oh yeah, you know what, there's been a lot of calls, or no, there hasn't been a lot of calls, right? So the number that you would call for this is actually listed up here. Oh, hold on, let's go back over here. You would actually call this person, this Chris Couture person, and there's their number there. Okay, so if you, so this one is taking place when? Let me see here.
March
You
7th
haven't
or
called.
9th?
Yeah, March 9th, yeah, until 3 p.m. So pretty much, you know, you could wait. So normally what I would do is I would wait until the week of, the March 9th week. So let's say here, I go to the calendar. So March 9th is a Thursday. I would actually wait until the Monday, phone them to make sure that it's still it's still happening on foreclosure, because they might have canceled it at that point. If it's still on the 6th, then I would actually pull the title, because you have to pay for that fee, and pull the instruments that come out, because you have to pay for that. And then if everything looks good, I would either send them the check and the package on the 7th, you know, really late on the 8th, because a lot of places don't do overnight couriers, and you want to make sure that, because it's so remote in Blue Mountain, that, or in Thornbury, Ontario, that it's going to get to them by 3 p.m. right? So the title search that I do from Central Works, they can do it in 24 hours, right? So this property on the 7th, you could do your package, mail it out, and get it to them for the 9th. Okay, so now keep in mind, Tony, that you put in a bid, there might be 10 other bids that come through, right? So you're gonna wanna put your best bid that you can afford. Okay, so now let's say this property is, I don't know, like $500,000. There's no liens on it. And you're thinking, okay, you know what, 400,000 would be a really good bid. And if I could get it for 400,000, that would be amazing. And you know, whatever else, but you don't have access to that 400,000. So then that's where you would have to come up with a strategy to try and work with other people to come up with that 400,000. Okay, so then this is where you would say work with me, or work with family or somebody else that you know who would be interested in buying property and doing that. Okay. So then let's see. So let's go over here. So for a foreclosure, you would send in your package, and then you literally would just wait. And they would pretty much call you the next day, or you could call them the next day and say, hey, did I win? But normally by the next day, if you won, they would have called you. Okay, so now let's say in the case of the auction, okay, you've done your title search and everything like that. On the day of the auction, you would just call them, and then you would go and you would bid. Okay, so now when you go to an auction, here are the tips that I would give you in terms of how to make that auction work in your favor. Get there 30 minutes to an hour before the auction happens, so that way you're not rushing there. And you want to actually just scope out the competition, right? You want to, you know, meet the sheriff if possible, meet the lawyers that are there, but you also want to see who else is there, because a lot of times the companies who has taken that land and charged it to the sheriff, they will be there because it's in their interest to be there to, you know, get the bids as high as possible and to see the outcome, right? So it's good to be there just to scope out the competition and see who's actually there, right? Talk to the people in the room, share the information, because seriously, if you share information and you know that there's a couple of liens there, somebody else might not know that, right? And by them knowing that, that will affect the way they bid. But also, if you share information, they'll share information with you, and maybe you've missed something, right? And, you know, buying real estate really is a team sport. Like it's not something that you can do it on your own, but it's harder to make it work. And if you work as a team, there's a higher chance of you succeeding, and everybody will benefit from it. Okay, so I highly recommend you don't just sort of sit in the corner and not talk to anybody, especially if you're there 30 minutes to an hour early. Share the information. The other thing is to sit at the back of the room. They'll have, I don't know, 50 chairs in the room. Try to find a chair that's at the back, so then that way you can see who's bidding. You can see who's taking notes, who's, you know, actively participating, right? And you'll be able to get a sense of who the professionals are in the room and who are not the professionals in the room. And once you know who the professionals are, you're going to want to try to make contact with them after the auction, because the more contacts you have in this, the better, right? In terms of growing your joint ventures, in terms of sharing and getting information with each other, okay? And then, and then the fourth part is don't bid right away. So I actually spelled that wrong. Okay, so when the bidding starts, don't be the first one to bid, or don't be the second one to bid even. Just sit back and watch other people bid. And you also have the option to wait until the auctioneer says, okay, going once, going twice. And then if it's still within your price range to bid, then bid. Okay, and the reason why I suggest that is because the auctioneer will start, let's say, the bid at 150,000, right? If that's too high of a number, then nobody should be bidding on it, right? But if you throw up your hand and you bid, then the next person will jump in and that bid will start at 150, and the next thing you know, it's going to go to 200, 300, right? So if the auctioneer sees that nobody's bidding on it, he'll reduce that 150, let's say, down to 100 or down to 50 at some point, okay? Your other option is that if nobody says anything, you can throw out a number. So let's say the auctioneer is standing there and he says, okay, we're going to start the bid at 150. If nobody says anything, you can say 50,000, right? And then that forces him to start the bid at 50,000. Okay, what you will find with auctions is that there are a lot of people who go to watch, but then there will also be some amateur individuals there who have money and they think this is a fast and easy way to make money. So they don't pull the credit, the title reports. They don't know what the liens are, and they make a bid without knowing how much is actually like what amount they would be assuming with their bid. Okay, so in the case of today's auction, the couple who got the place for $345,000, they did not know that there was they did not know that there was a $427,000 mortgage on the property along with 6 liens. They thought they were just buying the place for $345,000. Okay, but luckily for them, that property is worth about $1 million or $1.2 million. And so even with all of the extra fee, like the liens and everything, they're still at like $950, right? So they still made $250,000, assuming that they're not going to flip it, right? And they're just going to live there. there's no major damages to the property, so forth like that. Okay. Okay, so those are pretty much how you would find a foreclosure and how you would find an auction and how you would go about bidding on them. Okay, so Tony, one of the things that I will do with you and the other 3 students that I have is that for the next 3 months, okay, if you come across a foreclosure and auction that you want to review with me and strategize with me, let me know. Just send me an email or a text. We'll book a time and we will go through it together. Okay, so it could be for any foreclosure or auction property. So it's entirely up to you how you want to, you know, like where you want to invest in, right? If you come to me and say, okay, Hong, I'm interested in doing this foreclosure or this auction, okay, then I promise you I will not compete with you. Okay, or if I'm already in the process of bidding on that property, I will be very upfront with you and I will tell you, okay? Because keep in mind, like there's only so many foreclosures and so many auctions, okay? But if it's a property that you come to me and it's one that I was not aware of, then I will not compete with you on it. If it's of interest to me, then I might say, hey, you know what? Let me come in on this one with you. Okay, now keep in mind, I've got 3 other students who are in this position as well. So if you're bidding on something and they're bidding on something, I can't disclose that to either one of you. Okay, so I will try and help you as much as I can, but I can't, you know, like I won't be able to tell you that somebody I know is already bidding on it and what amount, right? Like there's certain things that I just can't share. With any property that you come to me with, I will pull the value report for you. Okay, because that way you'll be able to make your assessments properly. And okay, now keep in mind that present value report is not a title search and it's not the instruments. So those you still have to do on your own. Okay, but I can definitely walk you through that process again. Okay, and then this I will do with you for the next 3 months. I won't charge you anything for that because I want to make sure that you understand the entire process and understand all the risk and the liabilities that come with this strategy. Okay. Okay, so the disclaimer you've seen, my contact information you have. Okay, so Tony, it is 8:30. I will stay on the phone with you as long as you have questions for me about foreclosures and auctions. So I will open up the floor for you to ask me any questions you like.
Right, just a quick question for the instrument. How did you pull up the instrument? Was it with Central or is it with on Central as well?
Yes. So once they send you that title search back.
Is it included?
Okay, so this is what, yeah. So this is what I sent to them, right? So like you see, it's got the information, my credit card information. Then they sent it back to me with this, right? And then I would look at this and I would say, okay, Central, I would like you to pull the instruments, the active instruments. So keep in mind, there could be closed instruments and active instruments. You have to tell them that. If you don't tell them that, then they'll email you back saying, hey, you know what, do you want all of the instruments or do you want just the active ones, right? So they're really good at that as well. Okay, and so for example, here, I'll bring up the.
Does it cost extra?
It does cost extra. For an instrument, it could be anywhere from $10 and up. Okay, so for example here, Central, here, this might be an old one, building. Oh. Let me see, oh yeah, so this one here. So this guy, Joe, is one of the people at Central, and it's never the same person. Like every time I get an email from them or like every request I get from them, it's different, right? So you could see I started this saying, hey, you know what, can you do a title search for me? I need it by the end of the day, right? Or first thing in the morning, right? They came back to me that same day and gave it to me, which is fantastic. And then, of course, at that point, I didn't ask for the instruments because if the mortgage amount was too much on it, I would have said, no, forget that, right? There's no way I don't need to pay extra for the instruments because I already know. And with this one, I already knew that the instruments were going to be a Crown one. And because it's an auction, you have to pay for it. But I did my due diligence because on this particular one, I was actually going in with somebody else. And so I wanted to make sure that I had all the documentation and information. So I went to them. So they asked me, hey, do you want copies of the instruments? Right? And so I said, yeah, send me every single instrument. And I told them that I wanted the non-deleted ones, because there's no point in getting the deleted ones, because deleted means that it's not valid anymore anyways. Okay, so I sent him that at 10 a.m. yesterday morning, and then within one day, like within a couple of hours, he sent me all of the instruments. Right?
Are the non-deleted ones same as active ones?
No, so yes, sorry, yes, the non-deleted ones are active.
Okay, so was there any, when would you ever look at the closed or the inactive or deleted instruments?
Never really, because once they're deleted, they're off title. Yeah.
All right.
And so the guys, so Joe, so I actually phoned Joe because I wanted to make sure that with this title, so you see how they did a transfer of 537, and then they had a charge. So I wanted to make sure that this was the purchase price, and that it wasn't this plus this, so that it wasn't at $1 million already, right? Like I wanted to make sure that this was the purchase price and this was the mortgage amount. And so I just phoned Joe and I'm like, hey Joe, can you just clarify this? And he went through it with me, right? So if you have a quick question like that, they will answer it for you and they won't charge you. The only thing is that if you keep them on the phone for like 15, 20 minutes, then they'll charge you for that. Okay. So, and then with this one, this one here, it was really evident that it was, with CRA, right? And also because it was an auction, that you had to pay for this.
Quick question on that. If it was a bid, but the only fees that you don't have to pay between a bid versus auction is that in the bid, you don't have to pay the mortgage on it, right? Because it's assumed that the minimum bid covers the mortgage left over.
No. So the minimum bid is normally to cover the taxes that the owner on. So normally for a foreclosure, there would be no mortgage amount.
Okay.
Yeah, because if there was a mortgage, then that mortgage company would seize the house and put it up for auction.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And in both cases, you would have to pay whatever is owed to the government, right? Like.
Yes. So in the foreclosure, you would have to pay your bid amount, and that bid amount would be enough to cover the back taxes. Okay. And then in an auction, your bid amount would be your bid amount, but then you would assume all the government fees and the mortgage as well.
Okay. So, okay, that's a little more clear now. And then I guess final question. What's what I guess additional services from Ontario? What is it called? Ontario tax sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you get from that service that you can't get from Central?
Okay. So let's go to tax sale here. So this is the website here. Okay. The one thing that I do like about this site is that you can get all the listings of foreclosures. Central doesn't do this, right? But so you're either getting the property listing here or you're going to the Ontario Gazette. Central only does title searches. Okay. The other thing that the Ontario tax sales website does is that it gives you the info pack. So let's say for this Blue Mountain one, right? If I wasn't a member, I could get this info pack, right? Central doesn't offer that. Right? So now the Ontario tax site does allow you to do a title search as well with them, but they are so slow, like super, super slow. So I would not recommend going through them for the tax sale, sorry, for the title search.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So do you think that this is a strategy that you're going to want to implement, Tony?
Highly likely.
Highly likely or highly unlikely?
Likely.
Likely, okay. Okay, because I'm just trying to budget my time for the next 3 months. Do you think you are going to take me up on that offer of coaching you for the next 3 months?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Okay, so I am totally up for the task. So just send me an email or or just let me know, okay, of the time and stuff. But keep in mind, like you do want to narrow down your area or the type of properties you want to look at, okay, because you don't want to become so bombarded because you still work full time, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So keep in mind that you are going to have people who are going to be doing this strategy full time, like flippers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other questions? Because I will stay on the phone with you as long as you need me to answer any questions.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Awesome, Tony. Hey, so my last question to you is, do you have any suggestions or comments to me about this presentation?
I guess the only minor thing is, well, I guess it's kind of my fault on my side. Because for the past 2 presentations, I've been only able to watch a webinar over the phone because my laptop, it would either be unavailable or I would have connection issues, and my phone's a little more stable for whatever reason. But and if it's on my phone, the text would be a lot harder to see. If it's
Right.
like your PowerPoint slides are fine if it's full screen, but I guess the forms are going to be really hard to see on a phone screen. Other than that, it's all good.
Okay, so we'll have to figure that out, because if you've got laptop issues or something like that, then maybe it might be something where you go to your local library. And
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Like I said, I feel like this is more something I can do on my side. Aside from that, it's all good.
Okay, perfect. If you have any other comments or feedback for me, please feel free to email it to me, because I am always looking for that feedback, and I'm hoping to be able to provide better service all the time, right? So so any feedback that you have for me would be fantastic.
Gotcha.
Okay. Was it worth your time?
Totally. Oh, actually, I do have one last question on my mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms, because I think you have like 10 days to get your act together for the auction, and either 10 or 14 days for the foreclosure, between time of deposit when you win the bid.
Yeah, the financing question. Yeah.
Right. So I guess usually before the bid date, the deadline for the bid date, you should be working with your bank to work out, or your mortgage, I don't know, to get that loan set up, like potentially, so it's ready to go within that short period of time.
Yeah, see, the problem with that is that a lot of lenders will not give you a loan for a property sight unseen. Yeah.
Okay.
And they will not pre-approve you, because one, if you and you'll find this is that after a couple times of going to them and they pre-approve you for something, and then you don't actually follow through with it, they've committed to giving you that money and they set it aside. And so then if you're not using it, they've lost potentially giving that money to somebody else. So you'll find that after a while, you're not going to really be able to go to the bank for the financing. So what you're going to want to do is partner up with somebody who has that cash, okay, or to line up a private lender. So let's say for the one today, if my partner, my joint venture partner and I were able to buy that, we would have actually just secured the entire amount through a private lender at 6 or 7 or 8%, and then flipped it, sold it, and then paid that person back. Or at that point, after we closed it, then go to the traditional lender and get a proper mortgage and then pay back the private lender in full. Gotcha. Right? So you're going to want to at least line up family or friends or joint venture partners that that you can count on to say, hey, I just got this place. It's, I have to come up with 500,000, right? Or you go in there from the beginning with them, knowing that they're going to partner up with you and fund with you 50%, or how like 70-30, or whatever your structure is for your joint venture.
Gotcha.
Right? Like with me and my joint ventures, people, it's normally 50-50. If the price tag is too high, let's say, and I can only do 30, then I'm upfront with them and I say, okay, look, I can only do 30. You have to come up with 70, right? And then that way, it's very open as to what the percentage is going to be. And when you're there bidding either foreclosure or auction, then you know what the expectation is financially from each person and what the payout is going to be at the end for both people.
Gotcha.
Okay. Do you need help with the joint venture side of things?
Still early to tell because I'll have to poke around to see what I guess on my side, what the capacity would be, right? So
yeah. So ideally, if you can do the deals on your own, it's better, right? Because then you have full control. But keep in mind, when you do joint venture with somebody, you both assume the risk, right? So then you're in a way only inheriting half the risk, and they're inheriting the other half. So that's one of the benefits of doing a joint venture.
gotcha.
Well, okay, anything else?
Nope, that's everything. Thank you.
Okay, so Tony, if you can do me a huge favor, is maybe just write like a testimonial for me. That would be fantastic. And it doesn't even have to be that long, like a sentence or two. And yeah, that would be fantastic. I would really appreciate you doing that.
Sure, just let me know where you want me to write it.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I'll find that because I've never really asked anybody for that before. So maybe on Facebook, and then I can pull it off from Facebook maybe.
Sure,
okay.
No problem.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Tony. Okay, so have a fantastic night.
You too. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.